A lot of people don't appreciate some of the aspects of World War II which have sort of been swept aside, and people have over-focused on Normandy and some of the other avenues or other theatres of war. And I know I've shown this to you before, but I feel it is appropriate to show it to you again to give you the picture of the World War II in the European theatre. It's a graphic display, PowerPoint show, and I'm sure that you'll appreciate it. You may remember that Hitler came to power in 1933. I'll be guessing some of the dates, but it took 3 years for Hitler to occupy the Rhineland. And people were getting some idea of what was going on. I don't know whether you can see this pointer, but the players, which will be discussed today, are Germany, England, France, Italy, and Russia. And we've got France with a fairly big hold on North America. Okay, so in 1938, Hitler decided that it would be a good idea to annex Austria. After all, that was where he was born. He then, fairly soon after that, decided to move into the Sudetenland, which was the border, the German border with Czechoslovakia. He thought that went well enough for him to move into the rest of Czechoslovakia. Still 1938. Italy decided to move on their own, and they invaded Albania. And it wasn't long after this that Germany decided to move on Poland. And of course that's a stage in history that most people remember, because that precipitated World War II when the French and the British declared war on Germany. Hungary, Romania and Bulgaria joined in with Germany in what was called a tripartite, or they added onto a tripartite agreement between Germany, Japan and Italy. They were the three in the tripartite, but these three other countries decided to join in. You can see the red spreading over Europe at this stage. I think I missed that one, but at about this stage, Germany moved into Denmark, up the top there. Oh, there it is. So they invaded, didn't invade, they just took over Denmark, and next thing they invaded Norway. This protected their northern shipping lanes, giving them access to the Atlantic Ocean. And so things rolled on, and that row of flags along the edge of France there were along the Maginot Line, and that's where the French and the British set up to take on the Germans. The Germans then moved into the Netherlands and to Belgium, and then they broke out. They broke through the Maginot Line to the coast of France there. And then they took over the north of France. The lightweight dotted lines in the south of France indicate the area taken over by, or run by, the Vichy government. The Vichy government had capitulated, and they were virtually on the side, well, were on the side of the Germans. Once again, get the idea of how big the red area is getting now. Spain, Portugal, Switzerland and England out on their own, big influence of Germany down here, and Russia out on this side here, who had moved into Poland anyway. And so the poor old Poles were being sandwiched again. Britain raided England, and on things went, and I think this is leading up to the Battle of Britain. And down here, the Germans moved into Greece, and later on you'll see they come into Crete. The British are there at the moment, but the Germans will take over Crete, and that will be to ensure their shipping lanes in the south. And so out goes Britain from Crete. Okay, so a bit of action on the eastern front there. Hitler decides that he's going to move on Russia, and so that was probably one of the worst mistakes he ever made. And so Europe is totally red under the influence of Germany. And so something else, something new had to be done. And this is Operation Torch. Operation Torch started in November 1942 when the British and Americans moved into North Africa. A lot of people don't know much about Operation Torch, but it was, as I said, people focused on Normandy rather than focusing on other theatres of war or areas of action. By this stage, just remember that Japan had spread down as far as New Guinea and the northern islands of Indonesia, sorry, the southern islands of Indonesia. There was fighting going on in Burma, and the Pacific Ocean was full of Japanese ships as well. So things weren't going too well when you consider the total picture. And so the skirmishes in northern Africa took place. Rommel got defeated, and this took nearly a year, or well over 6 months, for that to happen. Still focusing on North Africa, but once Rommel was dealt with, it gave the Allies a chance to move to Sicily. Eventually they gained a good foothold there and then moved into the toe of Italy. And the fighting went up Italy. And it's about this stage that I should mention that John Bailey is going to be talking. He was involved in this area here, Operation Torch, on an area that's not on the map. He was involved in this area down here, which he'll tell you about, and he ended up moving up to Italy there, and he'll tell you some exciting stories about that. So that's the area where John fits in his talk.
What year is that?
We're talking about starting 1942 over here, and 43 here, and 44 for excursions into Germany and Poland. So the Russians started to put a bit of pressure on the Eastern Front. The Brits and Americans were flying raids into Germany, and from Foggia in Italy here, which is where John was, they were flying raids into Austria, Yugoslavia and places like that. He was flying liberators out of the main port at Foggia there. The Germans had set up the Gustav line here, and they hoped to hold the Allies. Monte Cassino took place in that area around about now, and it was a pretty bloody episode. But that gives you an idea of the blue aircraft flying from here up to there. That represents what John was doing. Russia putting the pressure on again, and you can see the red area lessening in size. And of course D-Day has taken place, but we just saw some parachutes dropping in there. Operation Overlord, Juneau, Utah, Omaha, Gold, Sword were the beaches where they landed. the Allies got a fair foothold in Germany, in France, sorry. The Allies moved up Italy. And then there was the breakout. And this is where the Allies broke out into France and turned the tables there. The Americans landed in the south of France. The Russians moved further towards Germany. The Allies cleaned up France. Belgium and the Netherlands were acted upon, and the Allies moved through the areas of Romania and Yugoslavia. You can see the red getting smaller as time goes on. We're into 1944. Tough fighting on the Western Front for the Allies. The Russians were very savage in their attacks on the Germans, heartless in their approach, but the noose was tightening. And it's well to reflect on the human effort that the Allies have put in to reduce the size of red there. And so by 1944, 45, the picture had changed markedly. Focus on this German flag in the centre of Germany there. Six. And so the war ended, and Germany was broken up into 4 divisions. That bluish one, purplish one, was looked after by the Americans. The northern area was looked after by the British. The Russians looked after the red area, and the French looked after the green area, the yellow area there. Notice that Austria also had those colours in it. And just keep an eye on Berlin there, because the capital of Germany at that time was in Russian possession. And so you can just see colours going in there, and that led to the Berlin airlift. And so that's a 10-minute look at World War II, but it gives you a fairly good idea of how John Bailey fitted into the system with Operation Torch across North Africa and then into Italy, and air raids going up into Europe from there.